Welcome back to our Python for Beginners series from homastudio. We'll be discussing conditional statements in kind of an isolated exercise, introducing the if, elif, and else clause, which will allow us to change our flow of control or change the way our instructions are carried out in our program. Now, to begin introducing conditionals, we'll start with something very simple. I have a file called conditional.py, and I already have a prompt here, an input statement, and I have a variable named password that equals input, and I have please enter the password. So the idea here is someone has to enter the correct password. Now, the idea of a condition is if you have the correct password, it'll say welcome. If you have the incorrect password, it'll say the password is incorrect. And that's all we'll do right now. So we're going to put a conditional statement, and we'll start with the keyword if, and then we'll say if password, and we're not going to say equals, we're going to say equals equals, which means it's determining equality. It's not setting a value. When we use a single equals, like with a variable, we're setting a value. But here, we're not assigning a value, we're determining equality, so we're using two equals. Now we have to determine what the password is, and let's just say for now, it's going to be a string called Python, just to keep it simple. Now, for this clause here, we have to put a colon, just like we did with the for loop, and then anything that goes inside the if statement. Now, this is the condition, if password equals Python, or equals Python. So what's going to happen if we get it right? We're just going to print out a statement that says welcome. So we'll just have a string that says welcome if they have the correct password. Now, if not, we use the keyword else. And this lines up with if. So I'm going to put it right here. Now, if you just use else, you don't need any condition because either it's going to be Python or it's not. So if it's not going to be anything, we can use else. So there's no condition for that. So for the else condition, if they don't get it right, we're going to print the password is incorrect. So either they get it right or they get it wrong. So that's all that's going to happen here. So we're going to have our input prompt, and we'll either enter the password or we won't. So let's try it out. And I'm just going to put in gibberish and hit enter, and it says the password is incorrect. And we're done. We don't get another shot or anything right now. Now let's try it again and get it right. This time I'm going to put in Python, and it says welcome. So that's the way it works. Now, obviously there's a lot of different scenarios that can happen here. What if we use a capital P? If we use a capital P, it comes out as incorrect. Or what if we have caps lock on and we type it in all caps? Then it doesn't work. Now, obviously with passwords, they're case sensitive. But in this case, let's say we were doing a quiz or something and the answer was Python. We might not care if it's a capital P or a lowercase p or all caps or anything like that. So, that may be something we may need to take into account. So we may need to have more than one option that can be correct. So one thing we can do is we can put an elif clause. That just means there's like another option, and it's elif. In JavaScript, it's else if, but here we're going to use elif, and we do have to put a condition, so we have to say password, and this time we're going to use capital P for Python. And it is a condition, so we have to repeat this welcome print, because in this condition too, that's what's going to happen. So you'll get welcome if you use Python with a small p or lowercase p, and you'll get a welcome with a capital P. And other than those two things, it'll be incorrect. So let's try it again. I'll use a capital P, and it says welcome. So those both work. And if I just try gibberish again, it doesn't work. So we have two options. Now, this is it's adding extra lines of code. We don't necessarily have to use an elif. We can use a logical operator if we want to. Now, the equals is called a relational operator, and they can have things like less than or equals to and stuff like that, which we'll incorporate into our future exercises. But for now, instead of doing this, I'm going to take this out of here because this is two extra lines of code. What we could do is put an or in here, put another option right here. Now we do have to repeat password. You can't just put or and then put the condition. You have to say password equals again, or you'll get an error. And this way we can do it this way. And now we only have one print statement, and that just saves us a little bit of code. And in fact, as we're doing this, we could even do another one, and we have to do password again. And this one I'll do all caps. in case someone has caps lock on, it'll work with all caps as well. So now we have 3 conditions by using the logical operator OR in between all those. And again, just take note that you have to use password again. You have to spell it out. You can't just say or, caps Python or uppercase Python. So we'll try this right now. And I'll try it with all caps this time. And I'll try to spell it right. And that worked. That says welcome. So all of these work. I mean, we could try all of them if you want. I'll try it with the capital P, and that works. And I'll try it again with all lowercase. And that works. So they all work. Always try the one that's wrong as well. Always try some gibberish down here and make sure it doesn't work, just to make sure everything works okay. So that says the password is incorrect. So everything's working here. So this is a nice start here as far as learning about conditional statements. Now, one thing we'll do, and particularly with a password, if you get it wrong, it usually doesn't say it's incorrect and then you're done. Usually you get an opportunity to enter it again. So what we could do is copy this and put this under here. So after you do that, it lets you try it again within the else. So it's going to say it's incorrect, but then it's going to say, please enter the password again. Now, unfortunately, it's not going to go through this again and give us a welcome. So we actually have to do this. We'd actually have to put another if else in here. So this is where we're going to run into some problems by trying to do if else numerous times. And that's where a loop is going to come in and allow us to do this a number of times. But let's just try this first and just see what happens. So if we get it wrong, it's going to let us enter it again. So I'm going to put in gibberish here. And it says, please enter the password. Now let me try Python. And it just ended. It ended because this is where it ends. There's nothing to take us back up here and run through this if again. So we'd actually have to copy this again down here. We'd actually have to insert this and have it kind of embedded in there again. So inside our if else, we'd have to put another if in here. And again, I'm just showing this that it gets confusing, and it's not the best way to do it because you'd have to keep copying and pasting these, and you'd still have to know how many of these you'd have to do. It wouldn't allow you to do it a certain number of times. That's why we're going to use either a while loop or a for loop to make this a little more efficient. But let's just try this and see what happens here. And we can still even put our own else back into it. You could do this, copy this and put it here and almost embed itself back into it. Now you have to be very careful with your indents. Notice that if we're putting an if else inside our else, so if else, this means if you got it wrong. So if you got it wrong, you're going to get another prompt to do it. And then after you do the prompt, it'll check if you have the right password. And then if not, it'll say it's incorrect. So notice that we're one level of indentation from this one. So this one is kind of embedded inside it or nested inside it. And we also had to tab these over. So these are indented as well, indicating that they're part of those if and else. So let's just try this out. Now I'll put in gibberish, and it says it's incorrect. And now I'll put in Python, and now it works. It says welcome. Now if I did this a number of times, if I did it wrong 2 times, it wouldn't let me start over. So let's just try that. I'll put in gibberish. It says it's incorrect. I'll put in gibberish again. And then it stops because there's nothing else happening. There's not another if-else statement after this. So we are eventually going to put in a loop here to allow us to enter a certain number of times. Usually with a password, you get 3 chances or something like that. So we'll set up something with a loop so we can do that. But for now, just understand this is how it works. So you'd have to keep nesting if-else statements inside here, which isn't very efficient, and it gets kind of confusing. But that's a little introduction to our conditional statements. And in our next video, we'll introduce a for loop into this to actually make it a little more efficient.